What is up, YouTube? This is the Working Investor. In this video, we're going to talk about people who are highly invested in high yield dividend ETFs that are making thousands, if not tens of thousands every month. And they want to prepare for the, we call it the tax bomb, where obviously your taxes are not being taken off like in your W-2, where your employer takes off the taxes as you go along. So how do you prepare for that tax bomb so you don't get any surprises at the end of the year? This here is not financial advice, legal advice, or any type of accounting advice, or any type of advice. So we're going to talk about some theories, some types of strategies that I have thought about, and also I've spoken to other investors, and I've kind of bounced ideas off. So this is just sharing some examples. It's not, any specific advice to you. So let's get into the video. So number one, we're going to talk away the old-fashioned way, which is just simply you just put away cash throughout the year. How much to put away? Everyone's situation is different. Let's just say for this video and arguments purposes, let's just say 30% as just a starting point. And so whenever you get dividends, if you get, let's say, $10,000 in dividends, so put about $3,000 away on the side, keep it in a cash position, maybe a high yield savings account or some kind of cash position, and where it's not subject to market risk. And then you could the rest, reinvest or whatever you want to do. Again, so let it compound. And then when it comes to the end of the year, you have that money set aside to help cover that tax bomb when you get at the end of the year. Another method, and obviously the cons are that you have opportunity loss because you're not able to compound those dividends all throughout the year. So that's the con of it. The second one is, save up 3 to 4 months. Why do I say 3 to 4 months? Because if you're targeting about 30%, so a third of the year is 4 months. That's why I say 3 to 4 months. So let's say the last 3 to 4 months of the year, just take all the dividends and just put that aside for the tax bomb. So when you have to pay that taxes, you already have about 4 months of headway. But the thing is that there are some, obviously you get to have, for the first 8 months of the year, you get to have the full power of all your dividends compounding, time in the market versus timing the market. So your dividends are compounding and compounding and compounding the first 8 months, and then you comes to a screeching halt the last 4 months. The problem is that what happens if the last 4 months of the year the market is really down and you have amazing opportunity to get in at very cheap prices, but because you're saving up for taxes, you're not able to enjoy this amazing down market to get in good prices. And also, a lot of these dividends in the high yield dividend ETFs, there's no guarantee that they're going to pay. And also, most of the prospectuses, or almost all of them that I've read, and also, as you can understand, that a lot of these dividends could vary widely. So, you may anticipate a certain amount being paid, but you may not get what you anticipate. So there's a lot of uncertainty in this strategy, and you could be subject to poor timing in the market. So you don't know. Another strategy, and there is pros and cons to each and every one of these strategies. So, let me know what you guys think. There's also a way you could siphon off dividends. So we kind of hinted on, instead of cash position, cash alternatives like CLOs, collateral loan obligations, treasury products, things that are uncorrelated to the market. You do kind of match inflation, or try to match inflation. But again, these things kind of like cash, you don't have time in the market, you kind of have other stuff, but at least you have that, that peace of mind that it's kind of uncorrelated. Or you could do like NAV stable-ish products. I've seen people talk about, let's say, now here's the thing, there's two flavors of this. Let's say you find a underlying, I'm just going to say, for example, let's say XDTE, right? Which is the S&P 500, synthetic cover call, zero-day expiration options on, by Roundhill, or let's say FETP or something like that by Rex shares. Of course, these do have market risk. Of course, they have market risk, but relatively ish stable to things that are single stock ETFs, because at least you're divested into a whole basket of funds, right? So So they're nav, that's why I say nav stable-ish, right? Now the question is, if you want to have, let's say, a special fund, you want to designate, air quote, this is your tax fund. So let's say if you have a margin account, you could, let's say if somebody has XDTE and you just let it, you just press auto drip on it, and then every single week it just the dividends just keep going into it. And if let's say it pays out 18% dividends, and those dividends compound throughout the year, and then if the market goes down 15%, that 18% that you've received in dividends gives you that little bit of a buffer. The 15%, so kind of helps a little bit to mitigate the down risk, because you are taking on market risk. You realize that. And then, so that's something to do. And the question is, if you have it inside of a margin account, while it's sitting there in the margin account, it's reducing how much you're borrowing. Remember, if you have it in a margin account, be very careful not to consider that as part of your margin, because you need to be able to pull that money out. That money has to be able to be liquefied. You liquidate it and take it out to pay taxes. It's supposed to be, has a purpose for taxes, and it's just sitting there in that position while it's trying to pay taxes. And one of the benefits would be that while it's sitting there, it's offsetting how much you're taking out in loans. So it's helping you with your your cost to carry, But then another way to think about, but you have to be very careful. Make sure you have enough, you have a good healthy buffer so you can pull it out at all times. So you can have a designated ticker symbol, or you can have a designated account, like a cash account, not a margin account, and a separate account. So this way you don't have to worry about, if the market goes down, you won't be able to pull it out, because there are risks to that. But it's a completely separate into a separated account, where at any point you could just easily liquidate the fund and take that proceeds out and pay the taxes. So you have to be, there's different ways of thinking about it. There's pros and cons to each way. And then there's another strategy I wanted to talk about. There are certain times in the year when the market is up, everything is overly priced. Let's say this past year, everything was overly priced. So perhaps, and this is a little bit risky because it's time in the market, when things are overly expensive, maybe I could turn drip. This is just a strategy. You could turn drip off and put everything just in cash. And then only when the market is down below your cost basis, somebody could turn drip on and just continue to DCA down. But when the market's overly bloated, build up the cash for the taxes. The problem is nobody really knows, like, what happens if the market is up the whole year, or down, you miss out an opportunity of reinvesting and growing your portfolio, or the market is constantly down the whole year. You don't know, who knows? So it's a lot of timing in that strategy. So there's no perfect strategy. Every type of strategy has its own pros and cons, risk to reward ratio, and different dynamic things to consider. I just wanted to put some ideas out there to think about, to talk about, open up the conversation, figure out what makes sense to you. Perhaps you have a totally different strategy whatsoever. You know what I mean? Perhaps you have that. So let me know in the comments what you think, what your strategy is to prepare for these tax bombs as we build up our portfolios. This is the Working Investor over and out. Have a wonderful trading week.